A Quiet Place was released in 2018, directed by John Krasinski, starring John Krasinski, Emily Blunt, Miss Lynn Simmons, and Noah Jupe. When unknown creatures who attack on sound arrive on Earth and take over the planet, a family must learn to live in silence in order to survive this new world. When this movie came out, it was a big mystery box for John Krasinski. John Krasinski at this point was really mostly just known for Jim from The Office, and I hadn't even watched The Office yet, so everyone kept saying, oh, it's the movie from Jim from The Office, the movie that Jim from The Office is doing, and I was like, who the heck is Jim from The Office? So when I went into this movie in 2018, I didn't know who John Krasinski was, never seen any of his work, and all I knew was that this is kind of his first debut as a director for a horror film. And when I sat down with my popcorn ready to watch the movie, I was blown away by how well executed and how well done this movie was by this new debut director to horror, because the way that the tension in this movie just keeps building and building and building, it doesn't even just build. From the moment this movie starts till the end of the movie, it's nothing but white-knuckling tension. To this day, this is still the quietest movie theater I've ever experienced a movie in, because every crunch of popcorn, every unwrapping of a wrapper was just so amplified in the theater because everyone was just dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. It was so quiet, and everyone was so absorbed into this world and sucked into this movie. It's the most I've ever seen an audience in a movie theater completely enwrapped in the world that the filmmaker has put on screen. And the world building that John Krasinski does in this movie for this family and for this world is so well done. The movie establishes rules. It establishes how sounds work, how bigger sounds can cover over little sounds, so that when you're around a bigger sound, you're allowed to be a little bit less cautious with how you speak, because the creatures won't attack you as fastly if there's a bigger sound around. And this movie is really about one single family who learned to adapt to survive in this new world. And that focus on the one single family that John Krasinski puts into this film is really what makes this movie shine, because this family atmosphere and this family dynamic that they have just keeps you enwrapped in the story, because you care so much for these characters that you just don't want to see them get attacked. You don't want to see them get hurt by these horrible monster creatures. And how this script writes the characters, it takes it from pretty good to pretty great, because you do have this family, they live on this farmland, they've learned to adapt in this new world and have survived for so long because they have this deaf daughter, so they all know sign language, so they're able to still communicate with each other. But not only do you have the deaf daughter who doesn't even hear sound, so she doesn't know how loud she's being, on the flip side, you have Emily Blunt, the mother, who is pregnant. And when that camera first shows her pregnant body, I remember sitting in that theater just being like, oh no, because what is worse? What's a more impending doom than knowing that you are about to give birth? Just that image of the pregnant belly puts right into your mind, oh my gosh, the woman's gonna scream when she gives birth, and the baby's gonna cry when it comes out of the womb. And when it comes to Emily Blunt's performance in this movie, she is so good. She steals this whole movie with her performance. Every single person in the cast is fantastic in their roles. But when it comes to Emily Blunt, her character is put through so much trauma, so much pain, and so much agony that she just delivers. She has so much material to work with to deliver this really incredible performance where she's just in complete trauma and fear the entire time, and you totally buy it on Emily Blunt's face. She totally sells the fact that this mother character is so strong trying to protect her children, but is terrified out of her mind. I also really like how John Krasinski uses the creatures in this movie. They're used very sparingly throughout the movie until you get to about the end of the second act to the beginning of the third act. Then they become really essential to the movie and you start to see them in their full design. But for the majority of the movie in the beginning into the second act, they're really kind of hidden behind some objects or hidden in the shadows. They come on screen really fast. You don't really get a glimpse of these creatures until near the end of the movie. The movie's horror and fear-inducing scenes depend on those creatures, because if those creatures' designs and their CGI does not hold up and you don't believe that they're really there, this whole movie kind of falls apart. But when you believe that those creatures are literally standing in front of these characters and the actors' performances make you believe that they are, that's what really sells these creatures and really makes this movie work. But you do totally buy that the creatures are there, and it just brings this movie's anxiety up to 11 whenever they're on screen. Guys, in my mind, John Krasinski's first A Quiet Place is a solidified classic in the horror genre. I love this movie ever since I saw it in theaters. It is anxiety wrapped up in a film, and every time I watch this movie, And this is something that this movie does really well. It really utilizes jump scares to an effective degree because of how silent the movie is. It's mostly just subtitles and then a couple of actual spoken lines here and there, but for the most part, this movie is almost like a silent film. But whenever a sound is made, you just jump out of your seat. Whether it's a lantern being knocked over or just Emily Blunt trying to move pill bottles as silently as she can, you hear every little sound that's being made, and you just kind of gasp and you just kind of hold your breath. And that is a big testament to the sound mixing, sound editing, and sound design in this movie. I cannot leave this review without giving praise to the sound mixing of this film. This is a masterclass of how to use sound in your movie, because this movie does pretty much hinge on the sound mixing. The way that they amplify sounds and the way that they give oomph to every little sound that is made is what really strikes fear into your heart in this movie. And I honestly believe it is some of the best sound mixing and sound design that's been done in film. It's exhilarating, it's thrilling, it's legitimately scary, it's got phenomenal performances, it's got a great family dynamic, it's got a phenomenal story and a great world with rules that are really established and followed through on. I love A Quiet Place, and I can't wait to see what John Krasinski does with A Quiet Place Part 2 later this week. What did you guys think of A Quiet Place? Did you see it in theaters? Did you watch it at home for the first time? Did you just watch it for the first time? Comment down below, let me know. I want to know all your thoughts and opinions about this movie. And guys, if you haven't already, why don't you go on and click that subscribe button, as I will have more movie-related content coming up each week. Thank you so much to those who have subscribed, and I hope to see you again real soon. As always, guys, thank you so much for clicking on this video and checking out my channel. Once again, my name's Milne. Thank you for talking movies with me, and I hope you have yourself a great day.